So the picture that we have here, which I took in our backyard, is a nice visual representation of the change of season. We have red leaves on the right side for autumn, and we have snow on the left side for winter. But many of us may ask, why do we have seasons? What are seasons caused by? And we'll try and explain that with a few simple drawings. So we're going to start by drawing our Earth here. We're going to make a circle here, and then we're going to say that this is the direction in which, change that. This is the direction in which the Earth rotates around the Sun. So when the Earth rotates around the Sun, it moves this way. And we also all know that the Earth rotates around itself, and it rotates around an imaginary line that is called axis. So the axis of the Earth is positioned this way. So the Earth rotates around its axis, and that causes day and night. So seasons are caused by the fact that the axis of rotation of the Earth around itself is now perpendicular to the direction or to the plane in which the orbit of the Earth is. So the direction of rotation of the Earth around the Sun is now perpendicular, not like that, with respect to the axis of rotation around itself. So now let's add the equator here to make things a little more clear. Okay, so this would be the North Pole up here, and this would be the South Pole up here. We call the area of the Earth above the equator Northern Hemisphere, and we call the area of the Earth south of the equator Southern Hemisphere. So let's now see what happens when the Earth rotates around the Sun. So we're going to draw here a little sun here, and then we're going to sketch the orbit that the Earth follows as it rotates around the Sun. That orbit is not a circle. The Earth follows what is called an elliptical shape orbit around the Sun. So now we're going to draw the Earth here at a certain time of year, and then we're going to draw another Earth here 6 months later. Since the Earth takes 1 year to go around the Sun, this would be the Earth, the certain month, this would be the Earth 6 months later. And now we're going to go back and draw again the axis of rotation of the Earth, which we've seen is like this. Now this axis of rotation remains constant. It always points to the same direction in space. So let's do it a little better here. So it never changes. Here we go. And so now we're going to go and draw the equator again, which is perpendicular to that axis. And there's the equator. So now let's see what happens when the rays of the Sun hit the Earth. So at this time of the year, you can see the rays of the Sun are almost perpendicular to some areas in the Northern Hemisphere. As we all know, in the for those of us that live in the Northern Hemisphere, certain time of years the Sun is much higher in the sky, and the weather is warmer. This is what we call summer in the Northern Hemisphere. But if you look, what happens when the rays of the Sun hit the Southern Hemisphere, they're not that vertical, and certain areas of the Southern Hemisphere never even receive any light. So what happens here is that at this time of year it is summer in the Northern Hemisphere. S-U-M, summer. It is instead winter in the Southern Hemisphere. So this is, for example, what happens in the month of July and August. In the Northern Hemisphere it is summer and it's nice and warm. In the Southern Hemisphere there's not much sun, the sun is low in the sky, and it is winter, it's colder. Now let's see what happens 6 months later. Let's go back to this line here. 6 months later, look at that. The rays of the Sun are much more perpendicular and to the southern hemisphere of the Earth. There's much more sun in the southern hemisphere, but instead, when we go to the northern hemisphere, see, the sun is not very straight. There is less sun, and there's areas like in northern Alaska, northern Canada, northern Russia, where there's little to no sun. Well, we call that time of year winter in the northern hemisphere, and we call that time of year in the southern hemisphere summer. So as you can tell, it is not summer at the same time everywhere around the Earth. I'm going to leave you now with an interesting question to which you can answer by sending me an email or putting a comment on my blog. Do you think there is any country in the world in which it is summer and winter at the same time? I look forward to your answer. Thank you very much.